You're live.
Thank you, my man. Are you ready, my man?
Yes, we are ready.
Okay. You have Harrisburg Zoom on. I don't see anything on here on the screen. I still see the seal there. I don't see anything.
Is anyone else having that issue? President Williams, is it working for you now?
No, I still see Harrisburg Zoom.
I see you, Council President.
Pardon me?
I see you on my screen.
Okay, so does everyone else see me on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Harrisburg City Council Legislative Session. Today is Tuesday, March 9, 2021. I'm calling this meeting to order at 6:00 p.m. Mr. Petrosky, please do the roll call.
Mr. Allett,
Present.
Ms. Bowers,
Present.
Ms. Daniels,
Here.
Ms. Green,
Present.
Mr. Madsen,
Here.
Majors,
Here.
Ms. Williams.
Present. Thank you, Mr. Petrosky. We now will move on to the invocation. Ms. Green.
Thank you, President Williams.
Thank you.
If we could all keep the families of Mr. Ezell Jones and Miss Paula Rideout Harris in our thoughts and prayers. Ms. Rideout was a leader of the Harrisburg area NAACP and a committed civil rights and policy advocate. So if we could all take a moment of silence to celebrate their lives. Thank you. And I think before I pass it back to you, I'd be amiss without saying congratulations to our fellow council member on her wonderful bundle of joy. So congratulations, Shemaine.
Thank you.
And that's all, President Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Moving on to Pledge of Allegiance, Mr. Majors.
Yes, all right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Majors. We now will move on to communications. We have none this evening. Moving on to courtesy of the floor. Mr. Petrosky, do we have anyone waiting at this time to speak to council?
Good evening, everyone. Now's the time for public comment. If anyone is in the participants section, if you'd like to. Okay, we see a couple hands raised here. We'll start with Ms. Campbell. If you can identify yourself for the record, you are unmuted.
Thank you. Kamika Campbell, Kimeka. Last name is Campbell, Campbell. Shipoke resident of Harrisburg. My public comment tonight has to do with two issues. First, I appreciate that we're having all this discussion around housing and the affordable housing bills that are on the docket. I really would like to see in those bills more emphasis on how we're going to develop Black and Brown residents of Harrisburg into to be able to kind of participate with the programs that are being rolled out. What we know we've seen so far is that a lot of developers come from outside of the city and also who are majority folks of the dominant culture that come in and get a lot of these contracts to do a lot of the things that folks to complete some of these projects. So really hoping to hear more about how we're going to treat our residents who are aspiring to do, take advantage of LRTA, take advantage of some of these housing programs. So that was my first comment, and I'm still waiting to hear back about some of the comments I submitted around that as well, that I emailed in. And then second, I want to just give a word on the way that we're doing public comments now. I appreciate being able to call in because I'm a talker, so that makes sense. I also, though, think that we should really think about, as a city, how to make public comment a multimodal kind of process, only because I think folks appreciated having the write-in option because if they couldn't come to a meeting, they could write in. But it makes it difficult if you only have one mode. So while I appreciate that we were able to do it this way where we can call in directly, I think making things multimodal for various reasons, for people, for convenience, and also to make it more accessible and make it more of a universal design so that universal basic design so that anybody with any kind of, hindrance can join the meeting and participate. This goes in the spirit of what we were talking about all last year, which is wanting folks to comment, wanting folks to participate. So just a word on that. Thank you.
Okay. We have another hand raised. Pamela Parson, if you could please identify yourself for the record, your name and address, please.
Okay, there we go. I would like to comment on what I heard at the last week's meeting and the hearing prior to the meeting. And this is really my sort of observations on what I see happening in Midtown. Last week, over and over, I heard the phrase, well, with the new courthouse. And this was being used to justify why development in Midtown, especially the parcels directly adjacent to the courthouse, are being developed now. But when I hear that phrase, and then I look at the plans and I see the proposed rents, the developer track records in other cities, followed by lack of detail about housing affordability or how women or Black and brown contractors are going to be hired, what that translates to into my head is how much money can be made by an already wealthy few. And it's about transforming this portion of our city into a place where newcomers, mostly already upwardly mobile newcomers, and mostly white people, will feel comfortable about being, living, shopping, going out to restaurants. And I know that developers, as well as those on council and in the community, are going to be quick to label me as anti-development. But I hear and see nothing that indicates that any of these proposed plans are going to benefit the poor to average person who is presently living in Midtown or Uptown or anywhere in our city. And if all the development that is proposed goes forward, it's going to transform Harrisburg. And I think that all of us need to have this particular transformation. We need to make sure that it's what we want. The vacant properties which exist now in that area have been allowed to remain vacant for years because there was no imagination or will to create them or develop them into a community benefit. There was no money to be made. So, let's tell the truth here. These properties are valuable now because developers and owners can make massive amounts of money. The city is simply a resource to be mined. It's purely about transaction. And extracting money from the city. The people who already live here, Black, brown, and cash poor, have not been part of this process. And their input later in the game will be minimal, and it will not greatly affect the outcome. Some of the parcels in question go back as far as the ill-fated Vartan village, which you may remember. And when the people living there in that area wanted to be at the table with John Vartan and have a hand in its creation, he took his marbles and left. And sadly, no one else came forward because they couldn't make money or have the control in the way that they wanted. Now that control no longer matters because it's quickly leaving our ability to control it. And the proposed development by the Harrisburg Housing Authority in front of the Jackson Lick buildings, it's a plan that's been around for decades. It's at best a bone, or more like a look over there at the squirrel distraction. And even if that development comes to fruition, it will only meet a mere fraction of affordable housing needs. In my experience, this is the way we always do it in Harrisburg. Anyone who comes forward with a plan and money is given the green light. And I'm continually disappointed at council's lack of imagination and its giddy willingness to quickly embrace any development. Any development is good development mentality. Last week's hearing, I heard commenters being told they shouldn't raise issues about affordable housing or the contractors because the hearing was only about the street vacation and not the proposal. But the street vacations are precisely the actions that will allow these large development programs to go forward. Those questions and concerns were exactly what should be asked. And that discussion is what should be encouraged. And I urge council to be courageous and vote no on the street vacation. Let's create smaller, more sustainable development that will have a long-term benefit to our city and its residents. Let's create development that brings in the folks who are already here. And I use that word sustainability in two ways, because I'm also including environmentally in light of climate change and the need for green space, and economically in terms of business and housing. And finally, I urge council to have some imagination and stop pushing off the hard issues onto others. Last night, I heard over and over, or last week, that it's up to the federal government to change their poverty designations and increase the minimum wage. And during the budget process a couple months ago, I heard in the discussion about disaster planning, it was addressed by, well, we'll let FEMA deal with that. No, it's your responsibility as council to encourage imagination and to make hard decisions. And I urge you to vote no on the street vacations. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, would anyone else like to participate in the public participation section of this meeting? Please raise your hand. I believe that is all, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Petrosky. Now moving on to approval of minutes. Approval of minutes for the legislative session of February 23rd, 2021. Council members, are there any deletions, corrections, or omissions? Hearing none, the minutes will stand approved. We now move on to reports of committees. Report from Chair Mattson on the work session of March 2nd, 2021. Mr. Mattson, are you ready with your report?
I am, President Williams.
Thank you.
Okay, the Community and Economic Development Committee met March 2nd of 2021, and we discussed several resolutions. The first being Resolution 16 of 2021, a resolution approving a preliminary final lot consolidation, subdivision, and land development plan to consolidate and re-subdivide the parcels comprising the project site into 3 parcels and to construct 3 single-family residential townhomes located at 1605 and 1609 Swadera Street. Planning Director Knight gave an overview of the project. The applicant was present as well and fielded several questions from the committee. The applicant answered some questions around MWBE participation and affordable housing. The applicant noted that the plan is still in the preliminary stages and hadn't thought through how to incorporate those requests into their plan just yet, but did commit to wanting to support them later on as the plan further gets developed. And then council also encouraged stronger community outreach in regards to the resolution or the plan as well. But the resolution, or excuse me, the land development plan does meet all of the requirements for city regulations and the planning commission, and is in compliance with city regulations. So would recommend that my colleagues approve it for approval. Next, the committee discussed resolution 18. Resolution 18 is approving a preliminary final land development plan to construct a 6-story mixed-use infill building with retail and office space located at 21 South 2nd Street. It should be noted in the economic development portion of this plan that the value of the project is at roughly $4.2 million, and there is a commitment for local job creation as well. Planning Director Knight gave an overview of the plan. The applicant was present as well to field questions from council. The plan is in compliance with city zoning and planning regulations, and I do recommend that my colleagues do support this resolution. Next, the committee discussed Resolution 19 of 2021, a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to convert an existing office space building into 8-unit multifamily dwelling located at 25 North Front Street. Planning Director Knight gave an overview of this plan as well. The applicant was present. It was Mr. Brad Jones, who has come before us in the past with several development projects in the downtown area. And of note should be that while the plan was in compliance with all the planning and zoning regulations, Mr. Jones has adapted his some of his units to be at a below market rate that is more affordable. That had been an issue in the past, and we do commend him for working with council on that and having more affordable units in his plan. So, but again, it has met all the rules and regulations, and I would recommend it for a final vote. For the next 3 resolutions, it should be noted that it was the same applicant. And for resolutions 20 of 2021, a resolution approving a preliminary final development plan to convert an existing office building into a 6-unit multifamily dwelling located at 321 North Front Street. I'm going to read all the other resolutions as well and then give an overview. They were very similar in terms of the process and questions. So resolution 21 of 2021, a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to convert an existing office building into a 5-unit multifamily dwelling located at 130 State Street. And then resolution 22 of 2021, a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to convert an existing vacant church into 8 multifamily dwelling located at 2260 Boa Street. The applicant does have a, so council asked the question of MWBE participation and affordable housing, and the applicant does have a MWBE firm that they work with on their projects, particularly around drywalling. That company is working on getting their final MWBE certification. But there was plans to engage them in doing work around this project. And they note that they are part of their plan is to provide affordable housing in their units as best they can. So with that, these resolutions did meet all city regulations and requirements through zoning and planning, and I recommend that my colleagues do support these measures as well. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Mattson.
Thank you.
We now move on to report from Chair Majors on the public hearing and the work session on March 2nd, 2021. Mr. Majors, are you ready with your report?
I am, President Williams. On March 2nd, 2021, the Public Works Committee held a public hearing to discuss Bill 20 of 2020, an ordinance vacating and striking from the official map of the city of Harrisburg rights of way within the block bound by the Boyd Street Urban Meadow, North 4th Street, Riley Street, and Logan Street, and within the block bounded by Harris Street, North 4th Street, the Boyd Street Urban Meadow, and Logan Street, pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the Codified Ordinance of the City of Harrisburg. During that hearing, we heard from Doug Neidick, of Greenworks Development, and Casey Keller of DCI on the petition that they were making the request for the street vacation. Mr. Neidig noted that the goal of this was to expedite their process for getting their land development plan and obviating the zoning relief request that they would be asking for this property. Their goal was to develop a 130 to 150 apartment and retail space, and noted that there was plans for a future sister project north of 4th Street for a parking garage, and they were working with Kevin Baird out of Philadelphia on that property. That was the request that they were seeking. We had the codes, fire, and police bureau had no issues with the proposal. The city engineer provided us with their request, and then we also heard from the public. We heard from several residents of our community regarding concerns and asking about the impact to business owners in the area of 300 to 400 Riley Street, and any impact to that the future development of this property would have on rents in the area. Mr. Neidig noted that they were working with Washington Place Equities out of Baltimore to do some of the pricing and planning for their future development of those apartments. Other residents noted that looking at what that the equity firm that they were working with and the apartments that were in their portfolio were either at market rate or above market rate for our area. That turned into a discussion about affordable housing in the city, and several residents expressed their concern about what this street vacation will lead to and the development that would come of it, and how it would impact property values and or rents in the Midtown area for the city of Harrisburg. And they encourage us to work on the affordable housing piece. We noted that Councilwoman Bowers has an affordable housing package of legislation that we are working through to address some of the needs and concerns of residents in the area. Residents also, and Mr. Neidig also noted that they were going to be working with the Harrisburg Housing Authority on some additional projects in the area. As to this specific project, when it came to the apartments and their market rate, he did not provide us with how many units in that proposal would be considered affordable. Discussion on affordable housing, right? So I am going to recommend that we remove Bill 2020 from our agenda for a vote this evening. There are still some comments that need to come in from Capital Region Water on this proposal. We have not received anything formal from them. In addition, that will give us some additional time to talk with Mr. Neidig about any additional plans, since street vacations are at the discretion of council. So that concludes my report on the public hearing. Next, we had 3 resolutions in the Public Works Committee. We had Resolution 8 of 2021. It's a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Wallace Montgomery and Associates to provide engineering services for the Capitol Gateway project. For that project, we heard from Wallace Montgomery and the city engineer. The project will include the road diet for Forster Street between Front Street and North 2nd Street, as they're going to be working on the additional design and outreach and development of that, the bulb outs, and making some changes to the median so that that intersection is easier for individuals to cross. We also asked that they do some outreach to some of the disability rights advocates in our community to address some of the concerns that come from there, as well as the Commonwealth, to get their additional approvals. They will be holding a series of public outreach sessions if and when this is get approved, and I am asking that my colleagues would support Resolution 8 of 2021. Additionally, we heard on Resolution 9 of 2021, which is a resolution ratifying Amendment 1 and authorizing the city of Harrisburg to enter into Amendments 2 and 3 to its professional services agreement with Kimley Horn Associates for the purpose of providing east-west multimodal connection phase 1 engineering services. This area, the two of the areas that are a part of the scope of this project are the Walnut Street intersections at North Front Street, between North Front and First Street, as well as Chestnut Street from its intersections with 4th Street to its intersection with 3rd Street. There were a few issues that needed to be changed through this on this project. So this is why the city engineer came to us with this. And I would ask that my colleagues vote in the affirmative on Resolution 9 of 2021. Lastly was Resolution 14 of 2021, a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to award funding in the amount of in an amount not to exceed $10,000 to the Pennsylvania Environmental Resources Consortium to sponsor the Pennsylvania Environmental Justice Symposium. This symposium will be held in the city of Harrisburg in conjunction with as a part of the Pennsylvania Environmental Justice Symposium, building an active environmental justice network through Pennsylvania, in Pennsylvania through education, participation, and action. Part of these will come out of the host fee revenues, and this was presented to us by Mr. Nathan. I would ask that my colleagues would support this resolution, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Majors. We now move on to ordinance for first reading. Mr. Petrosky, please read Bill 3 of 2021 into record.
Bill 3 of 2021 is an ordinance vacating and striking on the official map of the city of Harrisburg various unnamed paper streets, Kelker Alley and Walker Alley within the block bounded by Boyd Street, North 5th Street, Riley Street, and Fulton Street pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the codified ordinances of the city of Harrisburg.
That will be placed in Public Works Committee. Moving on to Bill 4, please.
Bill 4 of 2021 is an ordinance amending the city of Harrisburg's official traffic control map pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the codified ordinances by converting Monroe Street from two-way to one-way operation between Verbeck and Her Street.
That also will be placed in Public Works Committee. Now moving on to Bill 5, please.
Bill 5 of 2021 is an ordinance amending the city of Harrisburg's official traffic control map pursuant to Chapter 3-109 of the codified ordinances along North 6th Street and North 7th Street in the zones between Her Street and Riley Street.
That also will be placed in Public Works Committee. We now move on to ordinance for amendment. We have none this evening. We move on to ordinance for final passage. Bill 20 will be removed from the agenda. We move on to resolutions. Resolution 8 of 2021. Mr. Petrosky, please read that into record.
Resolution 8 of 2021 is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to negotiate and enter into a professional services agreement with Wallace Montgomery and Associates to provide engineering services for the Capital Gateway project.
Any additional questions, comments, council members? Please call the vote.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 8 passes.
thank you. Please read Resolution 9 of 2021.
Resolution 9 of 2021 is a resolution ratifying Amendment 1 and authorizing the city of Harrisburg to enter into Amendments 2 and 3 to its professional services agreement with Himley Horn and Associates, Inc. for the purpose of providing east-west multimodal connection Phase 1 engineering services.
Council members, any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the vote, Mr. Petrosky.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Madsen,
Yes.
Mr. Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 9 passes.
moving on to Resolution 14.
Resolution 14 of 2021 is a resolution authorizing the city of Harrisburg to award funding in amount not to exceed $10,000 to the Pennsylvania Environmental Resource Consortium Consortium to co-sponsor the Pennsylvania Environmental Justice Symposium.
Council members, any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the vote.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
the Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 14 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 16.
Resolution 16 of 2021 is a resolution approving the preliminary final lot consolidation, subdivision and land development plan to consolidate and re-subdivide the parcels comprising the project site into 3 parcels and to construct 3 single-family residential townhomes located at 605 through 609 Swidire Street.
Council members, any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, please call the vote, Mr. Petrowski.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
the Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 16 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 17.
Resolution 17 of 2021 is a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to convert an existing industrial property into a mixed-use building featuring 5 residential units with first-floor commercial space located at 507 North 3rd Street.
That will be placed in Community Economic Development Committee. Moving on to resolution 18.
Resolution 18 of 2021 is a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to construct a 6-story mixed-use infill building with retail and office space located at 21 South 2nd Street.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote, Mr. Petrowski.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
the Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 18 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 19.
Resolution 19 of 2021 is a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to convert an existing office building into an 8-unit multifamily dwelling located at 25 North French Street.
Is there any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote, Mr. Petrowski.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 19 passes.
moving on to resolution 20.
Resolution 20 of 2021 is a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to convert an existing office building into a 6-unit multifamily dwelling located at 321 North Front Street.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote, Mr. Petrowski.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
the Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 20 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 21.
Resolution 21 of 2021 is a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to convert an existing office building into 5-unit multifamily dwelling located at 130 State Street.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote, Mr. Petrowski.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 21 passes.
thank you. Moving on to resolution 22.
Resolution 22 of 2021 is a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to convert an existing vacant church into 8-unit multifamily dwelling located at 260 Bow Street.
Any additional questions or comments, council members? Hearing none, please call the vote, Mr. Petrowski.
Mr. Allett,
Yes.
Ms. Bowers,
Yes.
Ms. Daniels,
Yes.
Ms. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Mattson,
Yes.
the Majors,
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes,
Resolution 22 passes.
moving on to resolution 23.
Resolution 23 of 2021 is a resolution supporting the participation of the city of Harrisburg in the formation of a new joint transportation authority.
That would be placed in Budget and Finance Committee. Moving on to Resolution 24.
Resolution 24 of 2021 is a resolution approving a preliminary final land development plan to construct a multi-story mixed-use development featuring commercial space for a grocery store, restaurant, coffee shop, and offices, approximately 85 residential units, and an approximately 500 space parking garage in the block bounded by Boyd, North 5th Street, Riley, and Fulton Street.
That would be placed in Community Economic Development Committee. We now move on to old business. Council members, is there any old business? Seeing none, we now move on to new business. Council members. Mr. Allett.
Yes, I'm sorry, I had an old business. We had talked, I think, at last legislative session, and I asked for some information about snow removal along Forester Street in terms of state road versus city and some of the issues around snow removal. I believe Mark was going to get back to me with some information. I did not receive that. I just wanted to re-ask that information, see if that's forthcoming.
Mr. Woolley's on tonight. Mr. Woolley, do you have a response to that?
Yes, so I talked to Dave West. My apologies for not getting back to you. But I talked to Dave West. Dave West reached out to the state. They're working on a plan going forward to see, because that's a state street. And they're responsible for the maintenance. But Mr. West is going to work with the state to ensure that there's the snow is removed from the parking spaces so not to impact the residents and or businesses there.
Okay, great. Do you know, like, is there going to be like a formal response back from the state on it? I just want to follow up with some of the residents along that area to kind of fill them in.
Well, I don't know if it's going to be a formal response, but I think as the snow removal, the days that we're doing snow removal, Mr. West is going to be in contact with the state to ensure that, especially the large amounts of snow won't be visible there.
And maybe just one follow-up thing too, and maybe something that would help is if we're headed towards what might be a snow emergency, that we make sure that those cars are removed, particularly from those state roads, to help with the snow removal specifically. That might be something that could be beneficial as part of when we issue a snow emergency. Because I think that also exacerbates the problem a little bit.
Agreed. And I'll work with Mr. West on the snow emergency days to ensure that we have police participation and we get our towing services out there as well.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Sure.
Anyone else? Mr. Majors, I seen your hand.
Oh, are we still under old business or have we moved to?
No, we moved on to new business, but do you have old business that you would like to?
No, it wasn't old business. So one piece of new business today, Capital Region Water issued a release, and I just wanted to note for the public that they are going to begin the resuming of service terminations for delinquent accounts as we're all trying to work through this global pandemic, and just want to make sure that residents are aware that this is going to be occurring again. If residents can sign up, or customers of Capital Region Water can sign up for a payment arrangement or a payment agreement through their customer service center to be able to help them have some sort of arrangement so that they can work on having their bills paid and not have to be subject to a service termination. They can contact 1-888-510-0606 to discuss their account specifics. But as utilities are beginning to come out of the winter, and many haven't done shutoffs throughout the year due to the pandemic, some are beginning to do that again. So just want to encourage residents to sign up for agreements if they are behind on their bills, and encourage them to apply for all of the different assistance that is available at the state and at the state level and the federal level, and if they haven't availed themselves of those programs or any other additional relief programs, to ensure they sign up so that they do not have to deal with any terminations, as we're still working to deal through this pandemic. Additionally, we are starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel of this pandemic. We know UPMC is offering vaccinations signups through their website. I believe Hamilton Health also is going to be doing some vaccines. Anyone looking for vaccine sign up can go to the Department of Health website. They have on their website places where people can go for vaccines, but we do know that in our area, UPMC is doing vaccinations. I believe Penn State Health as well. So, sign up through providers to work to get on a vaccine list if you are in the 1A category. So folks that are seniors that are over the age of 65, and folks that have underlying conditions or comorbidities that would apply. Just, I know we've talked about it before on these at our legislative work sessions about working to get a meeting together with some of the providers in the city to discuss setting up a community vaccination clinic when additional vaccine comes available that's lodged in the city. I know there are a few pharmacies and providers providing vaccinations, but if we could work with our county and region to ensure that a larger site is in the city, that would also be a positive thing for our city residents. And additionally, as Councilwoman Green mentioned, want to say welcome back to our Councilwoman Daniels, and congratulations. That concludes all of my comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Majors. Anyone else with new business?
President Williams?
Yes, Mr. Matt.
As you said last week, I don't know if this fits into new or old business, but we are having our final digital hearing of the comprehensive plan. I know there's a lot of discussion about how we can get better outreach. Candidly, after having conversations with both the mayor, President Williams, and some internal dialogue, we think that the digital format of doing it probably not the best way to get that public participation. I do think it is a helpful tool, a reference tool for people to use, to click on the link. They are recorded. They are open to the public to kind of review and see how that dialogue is going. Just because this was the plan we sort of agreed to, we're going to sort of stick with it for the final chapters. We will be reviewing park and open and civic space tomorrow, historic and cultural resources, and integration and implementation. But moving forward, we would like to, President Williams and I have discussed engaging the school district to see if we can, now that, as Councilman Majors was alluding to, we might be able to have looser restrictions. We might be able to have some meetings, hopefully in the auditoriums or gyms where people can be spaced, and do more of a sort of grassroots effort and have traditional town halls to get that feedback. I think that's sort of the preferred way of doing it for our residents. And hopefully we can get more of that participation and feedback based off the dialogue we've had at the hearings. I know that that's what my council members are the most interested in. They seem pretty well read on the document. At this point, they just want to know what the public wants out of this document. And so we'll have a conversation moving forward how to best do that and best practices. But yeah, final digital hearing is tomorrow. Please join us. And any questions, concerns, feel free to reach out. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mattson. And Mr. Allen will not be in attendance. He has a prior engagement. Any other new business, council members?
Yes, please.
Howard.
Thank you. Good evening. Just wanted to note that the city will host 2 virtual public meetings to discuss the draft of the 2021 Historic District Design and Preservation Guide. The purpose of this comprehensive document is to outline the city's historic preservation program. The public meetings will be held on March 18th at 5:30 and March 25th at 5:30. And the presentation will be offered by Mr. Frank Grumbine, our historic preservation specialist and archivist. Zoom login and dial-in information can be found on the city's website. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bowers. Anyone else? Just a question, Mr. Woolley. Have you been in contact with Priscilla Lagori from Channel 27, ABC News, to respond to her request for regarding the city's ordinance, which allows residents with disabilities to have handicap plates and not tickets for parking?
Yep. I passed her request along to the mayor's office. So I think they've been in contact with her.
Okay, she emailed me today. She said she did not receive a response from the city's administration. That's why I was inquiring about, have you responded to her email yet?
President Williams,
Yes.
our office provided a statement on the ordinance to Moman, who I believe has passed that on.
Yes,
to
that has been forwarded. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Anyone else for new business?
Yes, sorry. Sorry, President Williams.
That's okay.
I'll just note that a part of the comment that I made regarding the service terminations that Capital Region Water are going to begin to conduct, they will be hosting a virtual Q&A session for customers on Thursday, March 18th at 6 p.m. As I get additional details, I will make sure that I share them publicly, and then we will also I'll also ask Moman if he could share that as well on through some of the city's social media channels, so we can get the word out, so residents can have any questions that they may have answered by Capital Region Water directly.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Majors. Anyone else? May I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Hello, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Meeting is officially adjourned. Everyone have a good evening. Good night.
Thank you.
Everyone, good night.
Thank you.